should my side gig be a passion gig, or should be for profit gig?
Well, if you can find the crossroads of both,
Uh-huh.
that's the winner chicken dinner right there,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So the way that I usually start people off is by asking, okay,
Mm-hmm.
what do people come to you for? What do they ask you questions about because they know you're so knowledgeable about this and you just love it, you're passionate about it?
Mm-hmm.
What do family and friends constantly come and ask you about? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you just so good at?
Mm-hmm.
Then I ask them to write a bunch of things down that they love to do, hobbies or just things that make them happy, right? Then I kind of see, are there any that intersect? Are there any that cross over? So for instance, let's just take an example here. People are always coming to you about shoulder issues because you just love the shoulder. You love the anatomy of it. You're a big fan of overhead sports and things. And, you're a shoulder expert. You love the shoulder. You would treat shoulder all day, every day if you could,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, it turns out you also like golf. You like fishing, right? You like bowling. You like, playing cards when board games with the family, right? You like going out to watch sporting events. Like, okay, well, now you got a list of hobbies and things you like to do. And now you look and, shoulder is an expertise and here's golf as well. You like golf. Well, that's kind of an overhead sport. That's a swing sport, right? Maybe I could do something where I start a physical therapy practice. Maybe you start mobile, start small, and I treat golfers only. That's my niche. That's where I've niched down, and I just treat golfers. And now you're bringing together both worlds because at the end of the day, you want something you can do long term and stick with it, and you want something that'll make you happy and keep you fulfilled. Because if you can do those things, you can try and error this thing for a while until you get it working right, and you'll just inevitably be happy.
Right.
You're your own boss at that point for that side hustle or side gig, right? It's with a population that you enjoy, and it's with, for the most part, a couple of, a joint that you enjoy and a part of the body you enjoy. It's going to be a lot of low back pain with golfers as well, right? They may have knees or ankles too, but you can start putting out content about the shoulder constantly, like golfer shoulder, tips, tricks, stretches, strengtheners, whatever. And you start putting out, a YouTube channel and content on that. Right. Then you start putting it out on Instagram and Twitter. Then you start a podcast about it. Right. You can monetize YouTube right after you get 1,000 followers and 4,000 watched hours. You can monetize YouTube. Right. Podcast, you can get sponsors for that, whether they be golf related sponsors or healthcare related sponsors. You can find a podcast. You can even do a local podcast, right? Let's say I live in, Waco, Texas, where I used to live, right? It can be the Waco Golfers podcast. And all I talk about is health and improving your game for golfers in the Waco area. Now I have the local Waco pharmacy sponsor the podcast, and I'm making $500 a month off of their sponsorship. And all I have to do is read a 30-second clip every week on the podcast, like a commercial. Right. So now there's just 3 or 4 different streams of revenue coming in to all these little connected side gigs and side hustles that I've started, and those little streams start adding up. 500 a month here, 1,000 a month there, 200 here, 800 there. And all of a sudden you're making 3,000 or 4,000 a month extra just from this little golfing side gig that you started locally. It doesn't have to be huge. Like I said, you could keep it as a side gig like I'm doing. I've got 3 businesses, all of which are side gigs, and they're not $1 million companies by any means, but you add them up all together and I'm making more than I would as a physical therapist or as a professor.